Welcome to Airway Exchange, the podcast for empowering educators and inspiring future CRNAs, a new series of Beyond the Mask supported by AANA.
We're your host team. I'm Greg Collins.
I'm Nickie Damico.
I'm Erin Martin.
And I'm Louisa Martin. We're here to support the community of CRNA educators with conversations to explore, learn, and grow.
To pursue excellence in the evolving field of nurse anesthesia education.
And to champion our students and enrich the future of the profession.
This is Airway Exchange.
Okay, welcome to our very first inaugural episode of Airway Exchange. I'm Greg Collins. We're all excited to be here. Can't wait to get this out, get this to you guys. I thought we'd start off with just a few introductions. I'm going to let Louisa go first.
Thanks, Greg. So excited to be here. My name's Louisa Martin, and I am the Assistant Program Director for Didactic Instruction and one of the assistant professors at the Nursing Anesthesia Program at Augusta University in Augusta, Georgia. I've been full-time in education since 2022, was adjunct before that, and have been a practicing CRNA since 2015. I've always had a passion for education, even at the bedside as a nurse with patients, with precepting nurses. And I found as a nurse anesthetist, I loved having students in the OR with me early on. And I really enjoy teaching in the classroom as well. And I'm the least experienced educator on the podcast. So I feel like I'm among, for sure, expertise, and excited to be with you guys. But yeah, just incredibly excited for this opportunity. Excited for us to, have a space to continue the fellowship and learning and professional development that happens every year at Edge, and to have this forum to deliver content to nurse anesthesia educators all over the United States, all over the world throughout the year. So that's my introduction. I'm going to pass it on to Nickie.
Thanks, Louisa. My name is Nickie Damico. I'm so excited to be here also. I am the chair of the Department of Nurse Anesthesia at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, which happens to also be my alma mater. I graduated from VCU 25 years ago now, and practiced in the Richmond metro area for just under 12 years, was a clinical educator throughout all of that time, and started to realize that the best part of my job was being with SRNAs. So a full-time position opened up at VCU, and I joined the faculty there in 2010. I've been in a variety of roles at VCU, now shifting from podium teaching, now shifting. I do still teach a fair amount, but more on the administrative side, which is also a whole lot of fun. If you could call administrative work fun, it's just fantastic to get to work with all of our faculty and support them and find out how I can develop new faculty and bring in new folks. So I've really enjoyed the mentorship piece of that, and trying to build a deep bench of educators for the future. That's really important to me. That's my role at VCU. Again, also super excited to be here with this group. I found it so funny that none of us have actually ever worked together before, as much as now it seems like I've come across each of your work in different spaces over the last few months as we've started to work towards finally getting this first episode out. So it's just great to have the opportunity to meet new folks, and I'm really looking forward to the work that we're going to do to support each other and educators and our future CRNAs in this podcast. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'll turn it over to Erin.
Thank you, Nickie. So my name is Erin Martin. I think I have maybe a similar trajectory to Nickie, graduated about the same time, 2005, so 20 years ago. I graduated from the Mayo Clinic Nurse Anesthesia Program, where I have made my career and currently am the program director. After graduation, I started giving a few lectures here and there, and then eventually had more of a formal role as core faculty, served as the associate program director, and in 2020, took on the role of program director, which was an interesting time. I think there could probably be many episodes about the challenges of COVID with directing and teaching in a program. I agree with most of everything that Louisa and Nickie have said. It's a great privilege, I think, to be part of a faculty. I think it's a great privilege to lead a faculty as in the program director role. I feel like unless you're in education, there's really no way to understand what it's really like. And I have my eyes opened every single day to something where I'll say, well, that's a new problem. I haven't come across that before. Huh. How do we fix that? So I really look forward to the opportunity to network with all of you podcast hosts, as well as continue to brainstorm solutions to those new problems with people who maybe bring ideas to us for things to discuss. And I just think that the nurse anesthesia educator world is very rich, really varied, and I think we all have so much to learn from each other, and I hope that's what we can do in this podcast. And so I will toss it back finally to Greg.
Thanks, Erin. I'm extraordinarily humbled to be on this panel, a part of this process. I think it's great that we're getting out and doing this. I'm at Texas Christian University, not VCU, but TCU. So that's going to be a little bit of some verbal workaround that we're going to have to do as we go along, I think. One of the interesting things that I've noticed just in this discussion is we are all faculty at our alma maters. I was a graduate of Texas Christian University, 2006. Pretty soon thereafter, started a clinical educator role, hosting an OB enrichment side. Love that. Couldn't be more happy. I just enjoyed having a resident with me every day. Really grew into that role and eventually knew that's where I was going to end up. However, I took a little bit of a hiatus, went into some nurse anesthesia management, worked for an anesthesia management group, realized that wasn't it for me. Got the opportunity to come back to TCU, and I have found my place. I think this is where I belong. It's great to interact with the residents every day. We have an exam tomorrow. I just walked through the halls of the library and sat and talked to some of them, and it was exactly the juice I needed to get us prepared here to record tonight. So, really appreciate the opportunity. Look forward to the direction that we're going with this. Look forward to hearing from other nurse anesthesia educators across the country in terms of ideas on where we go, what sort of space we share in, what we share. I think that's going to be super important. Can't wait to get this effort up and off the ground. And also a quick thank you to Beyond the Mask and AANA for making this possible. I thought we'd start off by talking about, I think we're still kind of in recovery mode from Congress, at least I am. Always a enriching experience, although somewhat tiring experience. In our discussions, we discovered we each had residents that attended Congress. And so a little bit about maybe what their experience was, what our experience was watching them go through the Congress event, and then kind of the debrief, what we've learned from them since we've gotten home about their experience, and also maybe some directions that we need to head. Being kind of also affiliated with AANA, I'm always interested in that perspective. When we talk about the residents being the future of the profession, I think that this is the right, obviously the right opportunity and the right medium to get that pushed forward. So why don't one of you guys, Nickie, tell us about maybe what your students went through with Congress and kind of some of their experiences.
We were thrilled to have a nice crowd of our residents at Congress this year, being that it was relatively close to one of our sites in Abingdon, Virginia, so Tennessee not being that far away. I got a lot of opportunity. There were so many opportunities for us to spend time with them. I mean, I thought this year, more than in the past, had just perfect opportunities for us to be with them. It seemed like in the past we often didn't get to be in the same spaces. But one of the highlights for them was meeting all the SRNAs from across the country, especially in the hands-on workshops. They had, I think, a lot of downtime as they were waiting at stations. They had stations that were made up of residents from multiple programs, and just the opportunity for them to talk about, how they teach regional anesthesia at their program versus others, how much exposure they're getting at their program versus the others. And it was both ends of the spectrum. They would report that in some situations they were really jealous that other programs had, a better experience than they did in some way or another. And then, the opposite as well, where they felt really blessed that, at our program, they got an experience that they felt was better. So I think just their ability to compare with others, see what it is out at other programs, it gave them a little bit of perspective that, others are going through the same challenges, that programs are offering experiences. No one is probably better than another in every area, that each one just has their own portfolio of, what they offer, how they teach, and what the experiences are. So they were, I think, most excited about that, just that they got to meet others. And I also talked to them a lot about the opportunity they got to spend some time with the prospective future SRNAs, and that was great for them to mentor and give advice to people who want to be doing what they're doing, who clearly look up to them, who clearly want to be where they are right now. I think that helped them feel, again, put their experiences, current experiences in perspective, because they remember that only a year or two ago they would have been, so desperate to be in the position that they are now. So that benchmarking, okay, wait, I've come a long way. I'm in the program now. I'm only a year from graduation, and I can now be a mentor to someone else who is thinking of doing this. So that was two big things for me. How about you, Erin?
I echo a lot of what you just said. I think that ability to interact with other students is probably the biggest advantage, I think, to having students at annual Congress. I also think there is something magical about sitting in that opening ceremony with the excitement and the energy and just literally looking around and saying, wow, this is the community that I'm joining. And we really tried to kind of hammer that home. We had close to 20 students there this year. And just to let them know, this is the broader community. This is what you're coming into. And so we will fund students if they're presenting their research. And we had a few posters and one oral presentation. But we had students who presented last year who chose to self-fund to come again this year because they found it so valuable. So I really think that the idea of exposing students to annual Congress during their education just really helps to kind of lay that foundation for continuing to be involved in our organization and have a real appreciation for what is the board and how does this work. I mean, it's pretty amazing. When you think about nurse anesthesia and this, I don't know, I think AANA is a pretty amazing organization and what they do for us. I do want to just stop and thank Greg for being willing to be part of the board. That's a huge commitment of time and energy and all of it. So I just want to thank you, Greg. And as you said, I feel very excited and fortunate to be part of this group. But for us, it was just an appreciation for that broader community, being able to interact with students from other programs, and then being able to kind of have a big stage for them to share the hard work they've been doing in their research. So I appreciate the foundation's work to provide that platform. I also really love the program director's lunch or breakfast or whatever they choose to do every year. I always feel validated. I think after I leave that and after I leave faculty forum that, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not the only one who's got this challenge or has this question. So I think for students, it's just a great way to get their feet wet and hopefully plant some roots and coming back. Okay, Louisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin. Just to kind of continue with the theme of, I sort of heard mentorship and what y'all were sharing with your students, talking to future potential students, the registered nurses who attended. I was blown away by the number of registered nurses who attended and the showing the dedication and willingness of the links that they're willing to go to demonstrate their desire to become a nurse anesthetist. And I know we had a couple students who attended the resident roundtable seminar and are really excited to participate in the Bridge program, which I think is a fabulous program that the AANA is doing to provide key guidance in a time that can be really difficult. I mean, I can remember being told it takes about 5 years to get comfortable as a certified registered nurse anesthetist. And I was like, 5 years? But I think that it does to get comfortable on your own after graduation. It's a big transition. So I think that to echo what you said, Erin, I think the ANA does an amazing job in a number of different arenas. And I think they're doing more and more in the arena of wellness in mentoring our future and extending a hand out to our future to say, come this way. And now I think they're going even further to extend membership to registered nurses who are interested in becoming nurse anesthetists. So yeah, we had a couple. Kevin Chim, who was on Grade One View, who just graduated. He was on the the wellness committee. We've got another student on the wellness committee. So I was excited to see them getting involved in that way. And also some of the students I got to interact with, I haven't seen in a while. I'm with the students mostly in their first year. And so I'm with them some in their second year during sim, but then they go on to clinical and I feel like I haven't seen them in a while. So to reconnect with them in this space that's kind of away from the formality of the university and the institution, it felt still being very professional, but also kind of relaxed. It was very, very fun. And for me, it was very meaningful to have all of them, nearly all of them, come hear me speak for the first time at annual Congress. That meant the world to me. They seemed to be beaming on the front row for me. That to me is what makes all the hard work, all the late night emails or the 24/7 emails. That's what makes this worthwhile, is when they say, "I'm so proud to be one of your students. You make a difference in my life." That's what I love about education. And I feel like annual Congress, as well as Edge, all our meetings are such a great space for that, to allow for those kind of interactions. So I enjoyed interacting with them in that regard, I guess. And I will say this, that we talked about this maybe the first time we all met. I think that three of us are Miller users and one is a Mac user. And I'll correct you, Greg, as a Mac user. Um, I'm just kidding.
No offense.
That I do not teach at my alma mater.
Oh, gosh.
I've got to give a shout out to Northeastern University, which is where I went to the Huskies. Because if they're listening, they're going to say, she did not go to Augusta University.
Oh,
I got my undergrad. So it's kind of an alma mater. I got my undergraduate, my BSN at Augusta University, but I got my master's at Northeastern. I just had to give a shout out to Northeastern. I'm not really doing this to correct you.
I'm glad you did that. The part of my
Yeah.
brain that drives me to the Mac blade is probably the part of my brain that made me make that mistake, Louisa. So I will tell you, the experience that our residents had was amazing. And I think Nickie mentioned perspective, and that's exactly what they got out of it. I think that they get a grass is greener type perspective, but they also get this perspective that they're kind of all in this together. When they would see me interact with one of my colleagues there who I haven't seen in years, who maybe lives on the other side of the country, they realize that's going to be them one day. And I think that that's an excellent perspective. I will say that more than anything, each one of the residents that I talked to that attended Congress, when we walked away, they all wanted to be a part of the AANA. And I thought that was the biggest lift. I think that what the AANA does to help fund some of the students, what we do as members, I think, to pay for the student scholarships to get those guys there, gosh, it's invaluable. The return on that investment is just something that I don't think we'll ever be able to realize, except when we're all retired and they're the ones sitting where we are. I think that's where we'll get the ultimate lift from that. Well, thank you guys. Let's maybe pivot just a bit and kind of talk about where we see the podcast going. What are some interests that we have? What would we like to see that we discuss? And also, how can we invite people to participate, to give us ideas, to drive the podcast? We really want it to be driven by other educators. We're going to be the moderators of the forum, but we really want the ideas to come from the educator space.
I think just segueing from the fact that we were just at a meeting, for me, a big reason to want to be a part of this podcast was to keep that sense of community going. We go to Edge, we go to Congress, we have these, the faculty forum or the program directors luncheon or student events, the college bowl, and we feel bonded and more close to and feel a sense of connection and community to other educators. Inevitably, we find out that we are all facing, yes, new problems like, oh, wow, I didn't have that on my radar. That's really good to know. Or some of the same problems, and you start to feel validated like, oh, okay, this is a big challenge for other people too. It's not just me or not just our resident. So I just like the idea of being able to keep that sense of community going. I love, the idea of a podcast as a way to help us feel more connected. I feel like when I listen to one, I'm sitting in the room with that person, and I know them even if I don't. I feel that way about Beyond the Mask and with Grade One View. Like I'm waving at them at Congress like they should know me because I've been listening to them. I'm like, oh wait, they don't know who I am. So I want to just keep that sense of community and connection going outside of meetings and the conversations we have there to potentially shift over to this space.
I think that's great. And I agree with that. I think people will ask once in a while, like, what's a typical day look like for you? Everybody here is smiling because there's no typical day, right? So I think that the breadth of things that in education that we have to remain mindful of is huge. It's best practices for curriculum, it's test writing, it's accreditation, it is dealing with student wellness and trying to find that balance between making this a really great experience and meeting a standard that can't be lowered. So I think there are so many challenges that are hard to understand unless you're in the community. And so I think especially I'm thinking about new faculty. We've onboarded some new faculty in the last year. We've had 3 new faculty members and trying to capture, in a document of like, here's the things you need to know is impossible. And so I think that this provides us with a platform to bring together those who have experience, to provide encouragement and maybe a bit of a map for those who are new to the education world. I think we can just maybe foster conversations that can provide a lot of perspective and support, no matter where educators are in their career.
I would love to see us talk about innovative practices in education and teaching. I also frequently find at meetings that others are talking about, new teaching techniques. Maybe it's an AI tool. AI was a hot topic this year. It's a big topic for a lot of us, but we all have successes and failures or stumbles in implementing new things. And sometimes, I'm a little hesitant to try something like, okay, well, I'm not quite sure how this will go. I'm tight for time, but I think sharing some innovative, educational and teaching strategies that others are using would be a great topic for this space to, invite folks who can share that with us and, give us the, okay, tips for how to make it successful and maybe some warnings about how to make it not such a flop or save time or whatever that might be.
Yeah, I think that we do that. I think that we look forward to having experts on here. Obviously, we all have our own expertise, but when it comes to something like AI or it comes to something like simulation, there are people that we associate with, that do have expertise in that field. And I think the ability for this to be a forum for them to get out, get their ideas out, and for us to kind of tease those out of them, I think is great through the panel, but also through questions from the listeners as well. Look forward to that. I think that's fantastic. I also look forward to hearing from some of the giants in the profession. I would love to have some of the just well known, well respected educators and us just sit down and have a conversation. Maybe not about anything specific, but about their path, about what led them to where they were and about, how they gained their notoriety or they gained their expertise. I think that there's always something to learn from somebody that's done it and done it at at a level of excellence. I think that that's something I look forward to.
I think faculty mentorship and continued ongoing faculty mentorship is so important. And one of the biggest things I've struggled with is that balance between creating a space for wellness and, as you said, this wonderful experience, but also an experience that is held to a certain standard that can't be lowered, an experience that is rigorous and very, very difficult and challenging and can't be made any less challenging, and at times for good reason. And I think especially challenging in the last few years is that now we've added a doctoral project on top of what I think, becoming a fully competent certified registered nurse anesthetist. I think you could have 3 full years just studying anesthesia and still be pressed to get it all in there, and now we're adding a doctoral project. So again, for me, it's that balance between wanting to be assertive and expect excellence, but also the fear of the faculty evaluations at the end of the semester. So these are real challenges I know that I and other faculty who started around the same time I did have really struggled with. And at times feel like, is this, if I'm fully honest, like, is this worth it? And it is, I do not want to go back to the OR full time, but it is challenging. And I think sometimes providers in the OR feel like academia is the easier, softer way, and it's not. To me, it is not. You cannot, not that we would ever, if something bad were to happen in the OR, of course we take that home with us, but in a way you can be done with your shift at 5 o'clock and go home to a point, you know what I mean? To a point. But with students, it's 24/7. And I love the interactions with students. One came by my office today and just said, very kind words, and, she missed seeing me. It was very rewarding, but and that's what I hold on to, because sometimes it's like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Because I feel like I'm not making a difference, and I'm always behind and I'm always stressed. And then you can't please them all. I try to adjust something to according to the evaluations. And then anyway, it's just, the struggle is real, but I feel like I'm so grateful for this space to talk about mentorship. I've learned so much just from the three of y'all, just in our interactions at Congress and when we've met, hearing from your experience. It makes me want to keep trudging this incredibly fulfilling, rewarding road of academia. But I don't think we can talk enough about mentorship and faculty wellness, taking care of ourselves. you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on the child on the airplane that's going down. And I feel like a lot of times we talk a lot about resident wellness, and I think resident wellness is essential, but I also think faculty wellness is also very essential. And how do you find balance in this role?
Gosh, it seems like we're going to have no shortage of things to talk about on here. I'm just getting more and more excited as we go along here.
I was just gonna suggest that we have an entire episode on how you manage the mental headspace related to evaluations. It's it's so hard. That was one of the hardest things about transitioning is, just the vulnerability that, that represents and, where you put that in your head, and anyway, whole episode on evaluations.
Okay, I think we are all excited to be here. I hope you can tell. We're excited to have you listening, and we want to hear from you. We want to know some topics that you would like to hear us talk about, some guests. If you're interested in being a guest, heck, let us know that too. Couple of places you can find us. First off, we have to mention the socials. So go on to Instagram. We are at Airway Exchange Podcast. Submit some ideas there. Follow us on there for sure. Be a part of the distinguished followers of Airway Exchange Podcast. Also, webpage, beyondthemaskpodcast.com/Airway Exchange. Let's hear from you. I'm excited to get this going. Guys, I want to give you all a chance to wrap it up, and I look forward to seeing you on here next time.
Couldn't agree more. It's an exciting opportunity. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do this. I look forward to learning from everyone, our listeners, those who submit ideas, and certainly from my other hosts here. So it's a big night, and I'm excited.
Very excited to be here and excited to see what we do over the next year. And yeah, just can't wait.
Let's dig in and get started. We'd love to talk about things that are important to you and that you'd like to hear from other educators about in our podcast here. So looking forward to hearing from all of you, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys again.
Fantastic. Every other Tuesday, look for the Airway Exchange wherever you get your podcasts.